sorry about that. So if you have any questions, you can basically post it on the question session on the side panel. So let's start. So before we start, I like to, why do we need SSO? What is SSO? What is single sign-on? Single sign-on is a method of access management that enables a user to log in once and gain access to the resources within multiple software systems without even being prompted for login again and again. So it uses the centralized authorization authentication servers that all other application system or the other application actually uses. Then they do not have to actually repeatedly enter the user credentials. That's one of the advantages. So I'm going to go through some of these things. So one is single identity, the reduced management cost, reused identity management infrastructure, which is like you already have something in place, so you can basically do. So we are really talking about this here in an Innovia perspective, and the presentation here is actually for the Centrify implementation we have done with one of our customers. And the second thing is the login automation, which is again, it's entering in plain text password, which is better than like if you can get it in automated login. Then most of the users, they don't really like about those special characters like $sign, percentage sign, ampersand sign. So most of the policies say that you need to have a stricter password. Then if you have an automated login system, then it will be user will be basically inputting once when they log into their in Windows or any other systems. And then once you have that one sign on, then subsequently you don't have to really input those complex passwords. So that will, if you have a login automation, people will be interested to actually put that kind of stricter password for their system. Otherwise, they'll be just writing some normal words. Then again, centralized authentication management, you don't have to worry about creating like Innovia management, like Innovia has an Innovia database stores the user ID password, so you don't have to worry about that, and you can basically rely on the Active Directory passwords. Again, this is like compliance with the enterprise single sign-on, and then centralized authentication. So again, compliance with organizational policies and regulations. So the Technia Authentication Optimizer architecture, which is really simple to start with, like we are trying to access the Innovia, and we have an user trying to access the Innovia. So the authentication manager, authentication optimizer core actually sits in between, saying that okay, the user tries to access the Innovia AIX login.jsp, and it basically sees that, and it goes to whatever authentication it has to do between. It already has all the information. The session will already have the information, so it basically looks for the user whether it's authenticated or not. So the system will already have the ticket available and all. So it usually comes with by default 3 authentication. One is Kerberos authentication, which if you are going to use the Kerberos authentication, you don't have to worry about implementing anything else. You can basically put the Technia Authentication Optimizer and have the Kerberos key tab file and everything in setup and other required files. So it basically give you right away the out of the box. You can use the Kerberos authentication. The same with NTLM, and it again uses the Innovia authentication as well. You can basically the user can authenticate against Innovia database. So these are the 3 items which by default it provides. So one of our customers wanted to go with they were interested in doing with an existing system, or like they have some other issues, and that puts us on a spot of working with Centrify. And Centrify is really good in maintaining and having that the seamless authentication between the Active Directory and different mechanisms within that system. It's give you, I mean, you don't have to worry about the key tab file generation, all those things. So once you install on the server, you are done with it. So I mean, there are other advantages with Centrify as well. I will just spot some of them later. So it's like any kind of authentication service provider. You can plug in with Authentication Manager or Authentication Optimizer. You may have to, like, instead of the first three, you may have to do some changes to actually do the rest of the plugin, but it can basically any custom authentication provider. You have to make some simple changes to actually do it. So the case study, I mean, one of our customers, they wanted to have an like this is the setup they have. Like they have a load balancer, and they have two servers with multiple JVMs, and user basically hits the load balancer URL. So the setup how we did was, I mean, you have to basically have an Centrify installed on both servers. There is a Centrify manager which sits on a separate machine. It can sit on a Windows machine actually to control the Centrify control panel. Then the Centrify itself is an, I mean, I can say that that's an black box which give you an authentication with Active Directory. You don't have to, I mean, as I said, the Kerberos you have to have key tab file generated and all those other activities. Centrify gives you all those insight itself, so you don't have to worry about what kind of authentication you are going to use. You can use Kerberos, NTLM, any basic or whatever kind of there are several setup Centrify actually give you I mean Centrify support. So I mean, as I told, that we have multiple JVM on each servers, and again no key tab. So one of the main advantages we were looking for Centrify was for the customer was caching of user credentials. If for any reason the Active Directory, which normally happens, is down, you don't have to worry about the authentication, because if you have logged in very recent past, the user credentials will be cached in that particular server. So when they hit, the Centrify actually authenticate your user, and so you don't have to worry about for being Active Directory down for some time. I mean, again, there is a catch that the user should be logged in for a specific time that I think you have to specify. So that's one of the major advantage, and that one of the major outage we were happening in that customer site, like Active Directory going down, and nobody can actually access node. That is resolved with this particular setup, and again, the other reason we went for Centrify was to for the specific combination of the application server. Basically, it was working fine when we were using AIX and WebSphere, but when we switched to Tomcat from like AIX Tomcat, that library which was provided by IBM, which was not actually getting used with the Kerberos directly. So there were some, IBM actually provided some workarounds, but it didn't actually work on that particular scenario, and we didn't have any choice to have an black box kind of thing which basically authenticates. So that's when where the Centrify comes into picture, and which works out perfectly. So how the authentication works, like user will be authenticated against Active Directory, or the setup we have done for is user can log in using their Windows credentials, or user can use Innovia credentials as well. Then there is an auto button we set up in Innovia login screen. I'll show you later. That can actually click on that, and it will take you to the Innovia application itself. So the use cases, user gets automatically logged in based on the Windows authentication. So if they don't, like if for some reason, if you're logging in from an out of the network site, like out of the domain system, you will be challenged with the Windows authentication page. So you have to enter your Windows credentials here. So it will take you to the Innovia application itself. Or it will take you to the Innovia login page, and either you can click auto button if you are already logged in with that system, but most of the cases if you are getting this, that means that you are not authenticated with your Windows workstation. Or here, user can input domain credentials or Innovia login on this Innovia login page. So you can basically enter your Windows username and password, and click on login will take you to the Innovia applications. Or you can basically put your Innovia credentials, because Innovia stores its own user ID and password. So you can do that as well. This is a specific requirement for that customer, but normally customer doesn't have to do. Most of the customers, they just rely on a single sign-on Active Directory only, so we don't have to worry about those things in that scenario. So one of the things we have again done for this case was the user ID is case sensitive, because Innovia doesn't allow case like it allows, but most of the cases you have case sensitive user ID. So if it is capital and small letter mix, then you have to enter that way. But the Active Directory we were working with, you can enter either way. So most of the users are used to type in case insensitive way, like they just type in the characters. So we made the changes to actually put and even if your Innovia user ID is different case, it still gets authenticated. So when user log on to workstation, they are granted a Kerberos ticket from Active Directory, which is what they are going to person it with when they submit the EMX login JSP. So when you access that through your browser and integrated Windows authentication, the server will be running the Centrify direct control, and which can verify the ticket whether the user is really authenticated or not. The Technia Authentication Manager will then, Authentication Optimizer will then validate the user against Innovia database for the existence, because you can have a user that is not in Innovia. So it verifies that, and if the user accesses the Innovia database, user will get access to the application. So that's what happens. So if the user is not authenticated for some reason, like if they are not in the Active Directory, sorry, if they are not in the Innovia database, or if they are not in the, like if they put the wrong password, or it's not there, then user will be challenged with the Windows authentication as I shown earlier. Then if it's not available in Innovia, then you will get an explicit login page. Explicit login page is like what I've shown, the same login page, EMX login PSP, but it's not the same as the login page. It goes with a flag that it's an explicit login. And so when user enters user ID password, the Technia Authentication Optimizer will try to authenticate with the domain using Centrify API. Then if it fails, it tries to do the Innovia database. So either you can basically enter either of them, either Innovia password or the Active Directory password. So all other failures that goes back to the login page. So it's basically prompted with again with the login page. So I'm not going to the technical details, and one of the things I would like to say is like what are the benefits of this one? So what do we get with the Technia Authentication Optimizer? So what we are getting is the enhanced usability and efficiency. So it's basically we get reduced time spent on re-entering password for the same identity. Then basically reduced password fatigue. People are really not interested in keep on entering the passwords for sure. And that makes actually the reduced IT cost as well, because you don't have to reset the IT password, like if they forget or if they keep on entering wrong passwords, get locked. And so if you have SSO implemented all over your like enterprise, then the IT cost will be reduced because you get less calls for the password reset. And of course, we have enhanced security because there's no plain text input. We are doing it earlier, as we said. Then the authentication is actually hashed and negotiated through the Centrify, or if you're using Kerberos uses the same kind of mechanism. And again, the compliance, what I already mentioned. So the architecture we are using here is basically the more modern object-oriented Java architecture. Then you can basically plug in any of the authentication providers out of the box. As I said, we provide the Kerberos, NP element, authentication providers. So it basically gives you an more seamless login for any kind of application, like especially the Innovia. We are talking about Innovia applications. That's all about it. And if you have any questions, please let me know.